From Jane Austen's wildest story written at age 11 to a daring romance about diving horses in the Great Depression, these 10 period dramas are the hidden treasures you've never watched. If you think you've watched and read all of Jane Austen's works, you might be wrong if you missed this one. Austen was just 11 when she started this novel, and it was likely written just to entertain her family and friends. It is dedicated to her French cousin, seriously fascinating woman whose husband was guillotined during the French Revolution. For young Jane, that must have been a goldmine for her imagination. The story is packed with Austen's signature wit and sharp social commentary, but it also leans into the drama. Fainting spells, elopements, outrageous coincidences, sketchy villains, and even deaths from things like galloping consumption. The main character, Lady Susan, played by Kate Beckinsale, isn't exactly likable, but by the end, the truest-hearted girl gets her perfect happy ending. Under the Greenwood Tree is based on the novel by Victorian author Thomas Hardy. If you're into period dramas, you'll probably recognize Keeley Hawes as Fancy Day, the lively new schoolteacher who turns heads the moment she arrives. With her charm and beauty, she ends up with not one but 3 suitors, an educated parson, a wealthy farmer, and a poor young tradesman. Who does she pick? Don't worry. Although Hardy's books don't all have a happy ending, this one does. But what I love most about the story is the peek into a small 1840s English village, and all the traditions and goings-on that made up the villagers' lives, including some wonderful English folk music. Which of us period drama fans don't dream of traveling back in time and stepping into our favorite film or book? That's almost what this young playwright, Christopher Reeve, does when he falls in love with the photo of a famous turn-of-the-century actress, Jane Seymour. This time travel movie has the added benefit of whisking the main character and the viewer back to Mackinac Island in northern Michigan. Yes, it's a little hokey at times, but it's worth it to see these 2 amazing actors together. Take a trip back to America's Great Depression years and the exciting but dangerous world of diving horses. Sonora Webster is a runaway, trying to find a way to support herself. What she finds is adventure, her life's passion as a diving girl, and a place to call home. If you're a horse lover, like a happy ending with a few tears along the way, and like being whisked to another time and place, this might be a good pick for you. It's based on a real story, and it's a movie the whole family might enjoy. Back to the years of the Great Depression. This time, we're off to the South, and the unlikely heroine is a beautiful, deaf young woman, Alice, who is kept locked in a shed by her violent stepfather. Enter Spunky Ellie, played by a young Reese Witherspoon, and her sensitive, college-bound brother, Sammy, who try to help Alice by teaching her poetry and showing her what life in a family is supposed to be. Of course, her stepfather isn't amused by all this. And of course, Sammy can't help but notice just how lovely and sweet Alice really is. Miss Potter is all about Beatrix Potter's life, with Renee Zellweger playing the creator of Peter Rabbit. The story flashes back to her childhood trips to Scotland, where she fell in love with nature and started honing her art skills. In Victorian England, we follow her fight to get published as a woman in a male-dominated industry, her love story, her heartbreak, and eventually her move to Hilltop Farm. Even though it's geared more toward adults, there's plenty of fun with Peter Rabbit and his friends coming to life through her imagination. And with Ewan McGregor in the cast, it's got even more charm. This adventure is one for the whole family. 4 siblings in the countryside, a sailboat, and an island. What could go wrong? Maybe just a few close calls with spies, a small tribe of wild girls, and a lot of adventure. The movie is based on the 1930s book series by English author Arthur Ransome and stars Andrew Scott, so you absolutely shouldn't miss it. This movie dives into the life of the genius behind the Elvish language and the Lord of the Rings, played by Nicholas Hoult. Like how Miss Potter brought Peter Rabbit to life in Beatrix Potter's imagination, this film has hobbits and orcs marching across the screen as part of Tolkien's creative mind. They're inspired by his university studies, his close-knit group of school friends, and the horrors he experienced in the trenches during the First World War. The story jumps between different stages of his life, so there's a lot of detail and subtle moments to catch. It's definitely one to rewatch. This underrated movie brings Charles Dickens, played by Dan Stevens, and his iconic creation Ebenezer Scrooge, Christopher Plummer, together to tell the story of how Dickens created A Christmas Carol about the most famous miserly bachelor of all time. This book forever changed the way we view and celebrate Christmas. If you haven't watched it yet, now's the perfect time. It's almost Christmas. And if you've already seen it, give it another go. There are so many fun little details you might have missed the first time. The Young Victoria gives us a look at Queen Victoria before she became the serious, stern figure we often picture from her later years. This movie dives into her younger days, her teenage years and early marriage. Victoria, next in line after her uncle, King William, faces plenty of drama as he nears death. Lord Conroy tries to manipulate the 18-year-old into making him her regent, but Victoria proves way more strong-willed than anyone expected. Meanwhile, Prince Albert of Belgium is being prepped to win her over, with people schooling him on her likes and dislikes, though, like Victoria, he's not a fan of being told what to do. The rest, as they say, is history, but you'll have to watch to see how it all plays out. The screenplay was written by Julian Fellowes, the creator of Downton Abbey.